The war on woke is really a war against young people, an extreme attack on how they think, exist, speak, and especially how they understand the world they live in. Those attacks reached new heights this week when the Florida Department of Education released shocking new guidelines on how U.S. history, particularly around racial violence, is taught. Florida middle school students will now be taught that slavery gave Black people a personal benefit because they developed beneficial job skills. High school students will now be taught that Black people were also perpetrators of violence during white supremacist massacres, like the one in Rosewood, Florida in 1923, when a white mob destroyed the rural Black town and murdered many of its residents. The state's education department, if you can even call it that, is doing this in a public school system where 64% of its students are people of color. Late today, Vice President Kamala Harris traveled to Jacksonville, Florida, to talk about what slavery was really about.
It involved torture. It involved taking a baby from their mother. It involved some of the worst examples of depriving people of humanity in our world. They dare to push propaganda to our children. This is the United States of America. We're not supposed to do that. They insult us in an attempt to gaslight us, and we will not have it.
Now, I should note, we invited the Florida Education Department to have a representative come on this show to discuss this issue tonight, but we did not get a response. To the Florida Board of Education, as well as Education Commissioner Manny Diaz, please know our invitation still stands. Joining me now is Florida State Senator Shevrin Jones. And State Senator, I know that you serve on the Education Committee, so you've been watching this happen up close. One of the many ironies of what's happening here is that the law that requires that African-American history be taught in the state of Florida was passed based on paying reparations, or at least on recognizing the Rosewood Massacre itself. That is what sparked the law that says they have to teach African-American history. What do you make of the fact that they've said, yeah, you have to teach it, but it has to be, as the vice president called it, propaganda?
Well, first, Joy, thank you for having me. But let's also point out that we're talking about the same department that back in January rejected the curriculum for AP African American Studies for being too woke. This is the same administration that said that Black history brought about no educational value. The Republicans continue to speak out of both sides of their mouth, not just on this issue, but on various issues. So it's not surprising to me that we land right here once again, that even in the standards writing that the Department of Education presented and they voted unanimously on, that this has come about, and this is the direction that the Board of Education has gone in. And I want to make it clear to everyone, I think you've made it clear, and I think so many others have made it clear, that there was no benefit to slaves, slavery, and those individuals being enslaved. There was no benefit at all to it. And I also want to point out the fact that all of this is disingenuous. It's totally disengaging from the process and what we as a legislative body should be doing in this moment, considering the fact of the many issues that we as a state should be dealing with to make sure that our children are learning accurate history.
Yeah, what was the benefit of forced breeding, of raping enslaved women and then owning their children as a breeding strategy and also just as a form of venality? What was the benefit of taking Black enslaved children and putting them by the water so that gators could come, so that they could hunt gators, and using them as literal gator bait, and then putting that on postcards? That is the savagery that took place. And yet your state would now like to teach that acts of violence against African Americans has to be taught alongside claiming that it is African Americans who are causing the violence. And that's not limited to the 1908 Atlanta race riot, 1919 Washington, D.C. race riot, 1920 Okosi massacre, 1921 Tulsa massacre, 1923 Rosewood massacre. They just kept happening over and over and over again. And I wanted you to comment on this, please, Senator Jones, Senator. Florida is a place where already 35% of these students are white in public school, but 20.9% are black, 36.4% are Latino, 2.8% are Asian American, and 4.1% are two or more races. So when the vice president says it's propaganda, they're trying to propagandize non-white children to make them believe that slavery was a good thing. And I wonder for what reason. Can you speculate on why they want black children to believe that slavery was good?
Yeah, I can't speculate on why they're doing this, but I also can tell you that you see what's happening in Florida and across the country of this narrative that's being pushed. Yeah, it's really because this is not a policy issue. This is a power struggle that we're seeing right now. This isn't just about the rewriting of history. Florida is trying to wipe away anything that contradicts the carefully crafted narrative that DeSantis is creating, and that includes Black history. So here's my thing. So if DeSantis doesn't want teachers to teach Black history in the classroom, then I'll put my teacher hat on for 2 seconds and I'll do it right here. I mean, it wasn't an accident that Vice President Harris chose La Villa in Jacksonville to do her visit. La Villa is a historically Black neighborhood that became a safe haven for recently freed slaves after the Civil War due to the relative safety it offered with Union troops located nearby. So Florida has a great deal of history. I think we should also point out that Florida was one of the last states to move forward when it comes to desegregation. One of the last states. And so what we're seeing in Florida, this is a national issue that we're dealing with, Joy. And this is a national problem that we're dealing with. We have the potential right now to raise a generation of children who don't know who they are, who don't know where they come from, and who do not know their history. We have to stand firm on this. And I'm not just talking about Black people have to stand firm. Our allies have to stand firm, because history is history. Whether you're a Jewish American, whether you're a Chinese American, everyone's history is important. And whether you feel comfortable or uncomfortable, it doesn't matter. You cannot tie a bow on what happened in American history and say that it was good. It wasn't. Lynching wasn't good. Redlining wasn't good. All the things that have happened in America need to be taught, and children need to know the truth.
Absolutely. And you have to wonder why the people who are passing these laws don't assume that their children, if they are white, will not identify with the people who were heroic in history and with the abolitionists. They just assume that their children are going to identify with the enslavers, and so they're trying to make the enslavers look good. And if you want to know why they're doing it because they want to raise a generation of people who will be conservative enough 100%. To give them their damn 100%. Tax cuts, to give them the 100%. Money they want and the deregulation they want. And they're terrified of young people because young people already are woke. Too late. Florida State Senator Shevrin Jones, thank you very much.